Just so you know, you're kicking it with K. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh, let's go. It's time to turn up your radio. Vibes will flow. Just so you know, you're kicking it with K.
Hey everybody, what's up? Thank you for tuning in again to another episode of Kicking It with K Marie. I am K Marie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time and you're like, what's this podcast all about? Well, let me tell you. So, I'm a podcast for the culture. I'm about my people. So, I'm going to make sure I have experts that come on here and give us some good advice. So you're going to get advice from experts. You're going to learn a lot of things, and you're going to, think about a lot of things, and you're going to laugh and just have a good time. So, and today is one of those episodes and a topic that we're just going to have some good old fun. Okay. So, what I want you to do right now, for those of you who are listening, you have not done it just yet. Whatever platform you are listening to us on, because I stream on every single platform except for Tidal, go ahead and subscribe or follow. Okay. And also, after you get through listening to us, go ahead and share. Okay. Share and like, because that's what a lot of us who are content creators, that's one thing that you can help us out on is sharing the content that we bring to you. And I know that a lot of you, because I've heard from you, a lot of you appreciate the show. You appreciate the people that we have on. You appreciate everything that you get from our podcast. And I thank you so much. And just go ahead and do that, okay? And for those who do not know, we are doing something different because y'all know I've mentioned a couple of episodes back that I am a filmmaker now. So, and I have completed my first film last year, and I'm working on my feature this year. So we are going to be taking breaks in between the our seasons. So normally I would just go pretty much straight through with about a week or so of a break, but nah, babe, we are going to take a break, and we're wrapping up this May, okay, this month. And then I'll be back in like the fall, okay, in October. And I'll let you know all that good stuff. So, sex. Got your attention, huh? Okay, so I know some of you had never tuned into this podcast. You saw the promo with sex in it, like, oh, okay, what's this? So we're gonna be talking about some of the biggest misconceptions about sex, okay? And helping me is a friend of the pod. She was on 5 months ago, and you can go ahead and look at that episode as well. And we just like to have her back because she was just very knowledgeable and her personality was just great. So, without further ado, let me introduce today's first guest, or reintroduce. Okay. So, she is a licensed clinical social worker from the state of Missouri, and she is a sex certified sex therapist. Her certification is the AASECT. Okay, you can find her on Instagram, Sankofa Sex. Okay, so please welcome DeAndrea Blaylock Solar.
Hey,
Hey,
how you doing?
good. Welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here too, so we can talk about some things. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So my second guest, those of you who have subscribed to our K After Dark group, I've had her on that show. She is very knowledgeable in sexual wellness. Okay, she is a sexual wellness coach, and she can help you enhance things in the bedroom. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that too. So this is her first time on the Kicking It with K Marie podcast on this side. So please help me welcome Kalista Marie. Hey,
Hello,
Kalista.
everybody. Hey, ladies.
Hey. So, like I said, you it's your first time over here, but you were on the After Dark show, so
Yes.
we can be we was a little bit more free over there, but I was like, we gonna bring you over here too, so we gonna be free over here too.
All
Okay,
right. All right.
all right. So so before we get started, everybody know that in season 3, I have introduced a new segment called "What in the World." Okay, that's my cheesy graphic there. And normally it's odd, a strange story, that can be nationally, it can be internationally. But today, because since we're going to be talking about sex, I thought this was just a good story. And I didn't know that this existed. So, May 6th, which was a while ago, since when you're going to be watching this episode, May 6th, I don't know if you all heard, but it is an international no diet day. Okay. And it's an annual celebration of body acceptance. It's observed on May 6th, and it was started by a British feminist in 1992. So, Mary Evans Young, a feminist author and director of the British group Diet Breakers, she organized the first no diet in England on May 5th, but it became international because we had Cinco de Mayo on the 5th, so they pushed it to the 6th. So what this day celebrates, it said the first no diet day was celebrated with a picnic attended by a few dozen women. But the next year, the international interest in the holiday was peaked. So the holiday was renamed International No Diet Day and moved to May 6th to avoid, again, the conflict with Cinco de Mayo. So this holiday is marked by various groups to encourage body acceptance and raise awareness of harmful dieting practices, because the young lady that started this, she struggled with like anorexia and everything. So she decided, and like I said, this is a good thing because in the media and everything, body consciousness is put like on a pedestal. The slimmer you are, then that's what that pretty mindset or perfect body. So I'm glad that this was formed to celebrate your body just as is, just accept your body as is. So, what do you guys think of that? I like that.
I think about how it can be so helpful to accept your body, especially when you're thinking about sexual experiences. A lot of times we may do something called spectatoring, which is where we're kind of in our heads and not really
Hmm.
in our bodies. And part of that could be because of different ideas about self consciousness, worried, does my partner think my body looks this certain way? And you have
Girl.
these other thoughts, and you can't even be in your body to experience pleasure. So
Mm,
anything that is going to support the acceptance of all different types of bodies, I'm here for it.
yeah. So, Kalista, what about you? You think it's a
I'm
good
over
idea?
here clapping like loudly in my head. I was just like, because I've been her. I've been
Mm,
her. And so um it's just so true, because the thing is that even, let's just say you want to lose weight. Let's just say you want to lose weight. But it's so important to learn to embrace different parts of you, even as you're improving you.
hmm.
You know what I mean? Because, like she said, that does a lot of times affect how you show up in intimate situations. And when we talk about, I meet a lot of women. I have met so many women. And, when we do pure romance parties, we always have a private ordering room. So the person can come in and you don't have to worry about somebody yucking your yum, right? And
Hmm.
so when you come in there, I've had so many women that were mothers of multiple children, have been married for many years and had never had an orgasm. And a
Mm,
lot of times that is because, like she mentioned, you're in your head. Is my belly too big? Is this out of, so you can't just really get into the sensation of what's going on. And the reality of it is, I would say 8.5 times out of 10, they just like, I'm here and I get to see you naked and experience you naked. They so geek just to be there, but we live in our heads. So yeah, I think this is a beautiful holiday, and the fact that they started it with a picnic, I've never heard of it, but I'm definitely gonna look it up.
Right. I just came across this. I was like, wow, it is a good idea. And Deandra, you are right, because a lot of times, being insecure of our bodies, it will stop us having pleasures, with our partners. And they, for the most part, a lot of men, they not tripping. They're like, whatever, because you over here like, okay. So like, I know I'll put on a few pounds. I'm a woman of a certain age, so I'm gonna put on a few pounds. So, but thank God I'm not tripping too much. Like, yes, I know, I'm gonna work it off and, get it tight and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, um, I'm glad that it don't affect me in that way. I mean, it could. Like, sometimes I'll be like on my stomach, like, Lord, like, oh my gosh. But like you said, for the most part, they don't even care. They don't even care. So that's a good thing.
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to be talking about. I came across this article, and we're going to be talking about the biggest misconceptions about sex. Um, I know there's a lot of misconceptions, and I know that we can be educated on some of these. And I just want to go down this list here. So, one of the biggest misconceptions about sex, it says that guys only have medical issues with sexual dysfunction. Right. So people just think that, oh, it's the guy who can't get erect, he has ED, and you know they think that the women do not, but we know that's a big misconception, right, Andrea?
Yeah, for sure. So anyone, regardless of their gender identity or whatever combination of genitalia they may have, uh, unfortunately, sexual dysfunction does not discriminate. So, um, just like how people with penises can experience erectile dysfunction, which is, sometimes related to blood flow, or it may be related to, anxiety or any other issues like that, people with vulvas can also experience a myriad of different types of sexual dysfunction, which could be related to vaginismus, which is the involuntary muscle constriction of the outer third of the vagina, in addition to anorgasmia, or the inability to orgasm. And again, that's anyone, regardless of their gender or their genitalia. So, unfortunately, that is 100% false. Like, anybody can get it. And it's something that can be caused by a lot of different things. Some people may experience sexual dysfunction after experiencing trauma of some sort.
Mm.
They may experience sexual dysfunction in relation to anxiety, or look, what's termed as like performance anxiety. It could be related to relationship dissatisfaction.
Right.
But there are a lot of different things, and of course, medical issues too. But there are a lot of different things that can happen that can influence sexual dysfunction, and anybody can get it.
Right. Okay, you said something. So the inability to have an orgasm, could that be medical
Yeah.
or more mental?
So it could be a combination of the two. Just depending on what's going on with the individual person. So, orgasms are defined as like involuntary muscle constrictions within the genitalia that occur usually after some type of stimulation. And so, if there is a blood flow issue to the genitalia, that could be a medical cause, as well as I'm thinking of people who may have experienced some type of why is the word escaping me? But they lose sensation or movement to various areas of their body. Like, there are a lot of
Yeah.
different things that can cause it.
Okay. Wow.
Paralysis. That's the
Oh,
word.
okay. Oh, it came back. Good, good.
To me, but any type of paralysis that can affect someone's ability to orgasm too.
Okay. So
Mhm.
sticking on that same vein, because one of the misconceptions too is where is it? That just become I want to make sure I say it right. Um yes, good sex has to end in an orgasm.
False, false,
Y'all
false,
like no.
false, false. Yeah, it's 100% false. But I think unfortunately because we don't often have frank, open, and honest conversations around sex and sexuality, a lot of people get their sex education from porn or
Mm,
from other sources of media where they show that sex ends with the ejaculation of a penis, which is not true. Sex does not always end that way. And we don't always have sex, and that's something too that gets me in a lot of trouble sometimes. But we don't
mhm.
always have sex just for orgasm.
Right.
Have an amazing sexual experience without having an orgasm. Sometimes you're having sex to connect with your partner.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're having sex to relieve stress, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to end in an orgasm. But because we've been given these different messages and not having these open conversations to learn that, yeah, you can have sex for other reasons than to have an orgasm, we have this mindset that that's the mark or
The
that's
goal.
yes, that's the goal. That's
Yeah.
what lets us know that we had good sex. Then nah, that ain't it.
Right. You have something to add, Kalista, to that?
I just love you. I just love you. I'm sitting here like, right, right. And the thing is that so often we're so goal oriented.
Mm.
Also, especially, in this country, we're so goal oriented, and a lot of times we don't do things. We're not a sensual community. You know what I'm saying? So sensuality is like it could be a velvet comforter. You just rub it because it's soothing. You
Yes.
rub it because it's relaxing. It's releasing stress. And sex with a partner, safe sex with a partner can do the same thing. Just like, when you would, make out when you were in high school. Even though you knew that he wasn't going to go past third base and neither were you, and both of you were okay with that, but it was the hot kissing and the rubbing
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
laughing and the excitement of thinking you might get caught. It was just the exhilarating feeling of making out. And I think way too often we don't allow that because that got your juices flowing. And when you were talking about different myths and how they can also impact people of different genders, I have come across people who identified as she, her,
Yeah.
right? And they literally had pain when they had sex. And these
Mm.
were not like women in their like after menopause. They would literally have pain and they would come back and they would buy our lubricant just like me, which is also a vaginal moisturizer. And that was the only thing that would allow them to actually have sex
Mm.
with their partner because their bodies would automatically clamp up so much. And I don't know the medical term for it, but their bodies would clamp up and their partners literally it would be painful for them to try and have
Mm.
intercourse or to use a toy. But when they would use that lubricant, it would really, really help. And so that's the only thing they would buy from me is just like me. So it can definitely happen to people other than people who identify as him with a penis.
Yeah.
Can I say penis on here?
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I do think that a lot of us too um I don't know if for those who identify as he if it's an ego thing, like she gotta come, she gotta orgasm and do this, but a lot of times like Deandra and like you too, Kalista, was saying that sometimes you just want to just connect. You
That's
just
it.
want to connect. That's just another form of intimacy.
Hmm.
But like she was saying, communication is
It's
is such
key.
it's so key. And even though you hear people say that, it's hard because really good communication is probably going to make you uncomfortable. It's going to make you
Mm,
feel vulnerable. It's going to open you up. And you don't want to be judged. You don't want somebody looking down on you like, what did you say? You want to do what? You thought,
right.
what about that? So what do? You protect yourself and you keep it in and you put fake layers out there and express yourself. And it's really hard to have an authentic connection when you don't put your authentic self out there. And we have become masters at wearing masks and putting ourselves like sending our representatives,
Yeah.
even within our long-term relationships.
Yeah.
But we don't realize it's affecting your bedroom or in the kitchen or wherever it happens to
Right,
be.
right, right.
It's affecting all of that. It's affecting all of that. But when
Yeah.
you are both willing to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
vulnerability is a superpower. It's a
And
superpower.
you're right. And I remember from the last episode when Deandra was on, it's like if nobody took nothing else away from it, she kept stressing communicate, communicate, communicate. Because it is key to a good sex life. You might want to ask, your partner, every now and then, am I doing whatever that they like, or whatever, am I doing that right? What do you want me to do more of? What you want me to do less of? It's it's key. It's key. And like you said, Kalista, a lot of people too, they shy away from like doing different things, like or trying different things. Oh Lord, I hope my mom not watching. But I'm gonna tell her don't watch this one, mom. But it's like it's nice when you can communicate with someone things that you always wanted to try, like for instance, like wax play or something like that. I'm just throwing that out there. There's different things, and that partner is willing to just go with you. It's communicate, communicate, communicate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to create a safe space where each of you knows, even if I'm like, you want to do what? But then I follow that up with like, oh Lord, you're gonna have me out here like, oh Lord, what a cowgirl hat on what? But you can laugh about it. So both of you know, yes, that's outside of my comfort zone. But go ahead, tell it. I want to hear it all. I want to
Mm-hmm.
hear what's in your mind because we both have to feel safe.
Yeah.
We both have to feel safe. And it's not just a one and done. We have to continuously feel safe because you're constantly changing and evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So, what made me feel safe last month or 3 months ago may be very different today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad you brought up the idea of that we're constantly changing and evolving because our likes and our dislikes constantly change and evolve. I think about specifically the idea of love languages,
Mm-hmm.
how the way that we share and express and receive love can change over our lifespan. And it's important that we're open to that change and not just being open to it for ourselves, but that we are using our superpower of vulnerability to share that with our partners and to let them know this is what I'm needing, this is what I'm wanting. And one thing I often say is vulnerability is scary.
It is. It is.
It is scary,
Mm-hmm.
but I really appreciate Callista's phrasing of it as being a superpower because once you find someone that you feel safe enough to be vulnerable with, and it doesn't even have to be a romantic situation, it could be a friend, but there really is strength in that vulnerability and it
Mhm.
provides an opportunity for you to grow.
It does. It
And
is.
can I just put a plug for a book like right here? And it's not even my
Mm-hmm.
book, but Brene Brown, if anybody has ever heard of her, has a book about vulnerability. It's amazing. It's absolutely an amazing book. And she has a way of talking about shame and vulnerability in a way that is very easy to digest.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Renee Brown. Okay, I'm gonna look that up.
I think it's Brene, right?
Brene
B
Brown.
R
Brene
E R
Brene
E
Brown.
N E. Yeah, and you can
Okay.
find her all over YouTube talking about it.
Okay. I'll look that up. Okay. So another misconception about sex is If you have sex right away, that signals something huge about the relationship. I know some people think like, when they meet somebody, like having sex right away, like, oh, that's gonna, mess up the relationship. Versus if you hold out, And I think that's, to me, that depends on the person. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yep. It depends on the person. It depends on the situation. I think about how some people, when they do have sexual relationships, sometimes it may kind of get in their way of judgment of other areas of the relationship. But some other people have no problem with that, and they don't have the same challenges of like separating things. And so it really depends on the person. And with that, it's important that you are honest with yourself
Mm-hmm.
about what boundaries are appropriate for you as you're entering different types of relationships. Looking at your own personal history and also looking at, what you want moving forward. That doesn't mean that you've got to wait for 60 days or 90 days or whatever, people are prescribing. But I think it's important to be honest with yourself and honest about what it is that you want out of particular relationships and partnerships. Um, and understanding that if you do decide to become sexual, that doesn't mean that your situation or your relationship won't last or won't be successful. A whole bunch of people get it in on the first night and get married. So,
True.
and also, marriage is not everybody's goal.
Yeah.
As someone who just got married, and I'm very grateful, and lovely 6 months on Friday. But marriage, it's not an accomplishment.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
It's a wonderful thing that should be celebrated. However, it's not everybody's goal. So, like, back to what you said about, does it depend on the person? Absolutely. And it's important that you are really honest about what it is that you're wanting out of different types of partnerships and your own personal boundaries of what's good for you. If you know that once you have sex with someone, like nothing else matters, maybe we should hold off. But
Right.
it just really depends. You gotta be really honest with yourself about what boundaries work for you.
Okay. And and I'm not talking about for those who, because I know people personally who either they're still holding on to their virginity, or they're abstaining until, so we're not, y'all go ahead and keep the fight, keep that on. But we're not, I'm not talking about you all. Okay. All right, Kalisa, you have anything to add to that?
I do. And when she was mentioning knowing what you want, man, when I say that's so important, it's so very important, because let's talk about social media just for a second.
Okay.
First of all, it's addictive. It's addictive, and it changes our thought process. If you don't believe me, try going 2 or 3 weeks without social media, especially Facebook, right? And so different things outside of you will have you thinking that what it is that you want is what this look like relationship goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
That has become a term,
Mm-hmm.
relationship goals. But is that really what you need? Have you seriously taken time to turn off the outside noises, to dive in here? That too is an uncomfortable journey. And many people don't do that. But yet and still they go out and they start dating somebody, and they may say, I'm independent, or I'm just out here living my best life, YOLO. But deep inside, that's not what you're yearning for. So are you being honest with you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are you really being, not what you're typing on Facebook, what your status
Mm-hmm.
is, and because you saw something and you shared it and you think that's really how you feel? No, you just liked it and shared it. That's not really how you feel. You know what I'm saying? And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's such a disservice that we do to ourselves, because again, I've been there, that we go through life, we raise kids in it, and we're not being honest with ourselves because we've never taken the time to dig in here. There's
Mhm.
literally like an Indiana Jones type of dig that we need to do in here to get to know who we are, our likes, our dislikes, our trauma. Maybe our trauma has been leading the way and making our decisions, not our authentic selves. And those are two very different things. Your trauma can have you hooking up with all kind of people, but
Mhm.
that's not really what you needed. Your
Mhm.
hurt is driving.
Mhm. That's good. That's good right there. Yeah, you absolutely right. You are absolutely right. I like that. Mm. And I had a thought, but it left, but that's okay. That's okay. All right. So another misconception is that sex should be spontaneous and unplanned.
It don't have to be.
Right.
So look, um, I think about how a lot of times when I'm working with folks in relationship, they'll talk about the lack of spontaneity. But then I have to bring them back. I'm like, it wasn't that spontaneous. Cause did you put on your matching bra and panty set before you went out on your
Mm. Right, right.
before you went to the house of your partner? Did you take a little bath,
Right, right.
shower, put on your good smell goods, make sure you had your good drawers on? I
Right.
mean, so although I understand the idea of spontaneity,
Yeah.
and however, there's still like a little bit of planning that was going on to prepare for the possibility of it. And so, because oftentimes when people enter into partnerships, there may be additional responsibilities that make it real challenging to have the same levels of spontaneity.
Mhm.
If you got little bitty babies, you may not be able to just, whenever the mood hits you. And so you may have to plan it. You may have to say on purpose, we're going to spend this time together. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to put pressure on yourself to have sex. But what happens often is when folks in relationships get these additional responsibilities, let's say parenthood or like additional things at work, they don't have time to just be as a couple. They spend time in other roles as an employee, as a child of an aging parent, as a parent,
Mhm.
any of that.
Mhm.
But to actually be as a couple or be as a partner, they don't have the time for that, or they don't make the time for that. What they're doing is they're catching up on their shows, uh,
Right.
sitting in front of a screen, and then they got their phone in front of them or their tablet,
Mhm.
and just missing out on that time. So, what we have to do is plan for a specific time to be intentional with our partners. And yeah, it don't sound as sexy. But let me tell you something, planned sex is better than no sex.
Hello. And
So,
you know what? I mean, and like you said, life happens. So you might need to, do a nice little afternoon delight on your lunch break, meet up with your partner. You know what I'm saying? Get it in, any way you can. You know what I'm saying? Cuz like you said, things happen. People have responsibilities, different responsibilities. And it's that planning. I mean, like you said, we understand the spontaneity of it all. That's great. It could be and it's and it can be it's fun too. Like just you can be just driving like pull over here. What I'm saying? Just that's like so spontaneous. But like you said, but it can still be good when it's planned.
mhm.
And like you said, intentional. Be intentional about it. Let me
Okay, so
see.
I have to say this. Okay, so I remember I used to know, well, I still know her, but this young lady that I knew, and it was the first time I had ever heard of somebody doing this. And I was like, I mean, it makes sense, but she literally used to write it in her planner when her and her husband
Mhm.
were going to have
Mhm.
sex. And the whole thing is that, but it was a priority. She was in ministry. She was a mom.
Mhm.
They both worked. She was in school.
Mhm.
So when you have all that, and we talk so much about, I'm a girl boss, and you dating somebody that's an alpha male. Well, if you're doing all of that, all of that takes time. It
Mm-hmm.
takes energy. But again, things outside of us have conditioned us to believe romantic is what you see in the movies. I just came home and I pinned her up against the wall and we just had this
Right.
hot, crazy sex. Okay, but did you do that day after day, year after year, after you guys were together 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years?
Right.
First of all, don't put me up on the wall. That hurt my back. Don't do it.
And don't struggle if you know you can't pick me up.
I'm just saying. Okay. So, you know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of our ideas are very romanticized and they're not realistic. I had another girlfriend that when she was engaged, it was again the first time I had heard that when they went for their counseling, they talked about how many times do you think is good to have sex? Before
Mm-hmm.
she told me that, I was like, people talk about that in counseling?
Mm-hmm.
She was like, yeah. And so you have to talk about the fact our life is not going to always look like it does right now. It shouldn't. As
Right.
we're changing and evolving, our demands and our needs are going to change, and we have to be adaptable to that.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, spontaneity is fun, but also plan it. Like even when you plan it, you can still do some stuff. Like this is the day we're gonna have sex. Hey, do something fun. Let that fun be spontaneous a little bit. Role play, whatever. So just it can still be fun when it's planned. Okay. All right. Oh, this one. This is a big misconception too. Men always want sex and women rarely enjoy it.
Alive from the pit of hell.
From the pit, from the pit. It reminds me like of some of those movies because I am a filmmaker, so I love movies. I'm a movie buff. I'm into movies and all of that stuff. So I've seen like some movies like was set back in the day, and like the mom would tell the daughter, yeah, just he's gonna try to get on top of you, and just I know it'd probably be hard, but just take it. Just take it. What? It's not something that's okay. Okay, I'm sorry, DeAndrea.
It's that message that sex is something that women endure as opposed to something that we enjoy. And I think that a lot of that comes from, like you said, messages from the media. It could be messages from our family members as well. And just trying to understand that these ideas of what one gender likes and the other doesn't, um, they, first of all, are not based in reality, but often based in these ideas of wanting to control others.
Mm,
And it's important to understand its origin and also understand that it's false. Everybody has the ability to either like or not like, or be ready for or not be ready for sex. You have some people who are just always ready to go, and some who are not, regardless of their gender. However, we do get these messages from media, from our families, from our churches,
mhm.
different different religious upbringing, all of that. And
Yeah,
these ideas are not based in reality.
right. Kalista.
And another thing is, back in the day, a lot of times if you enjoyed sex, you were looked at as a hussy.
A
You
hussy, a
hussy.
slut,
Yes,
or
a
whatever.
slut.
Yeah.
Just because you like Mae West. Mae West was one of my mother's faves, and she was not afraid to show her sexuality on screen.
Or Marilyn Monroe.
Or Marilyn Monroe. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But they were not looked at as necessarily the respectable type of woman that you would
Right.
want to marry, right?
Right.
They were sex symbols. Even that word, sex symbols.
Yeah.
And so much of it is conditioning. So much, and we get so much conditioning from such a young age. We don't even realize what stuff is being downloaded to what is acceptable, air quotes, and what is not acceptable. And literally, you have to unlearn so much to really dig into what do I like? What do I want? What do to even start giving yourself space to ask those questions and to not wallow in shame when those answers start coming up. Oh, you want it 2 times a day. I'm a hussy. No, you're human. And that's just
Right.
what you like.
Yeah.
But you have to you have to start unlearning all the stuff that was downloaded, all the conversations you heard growing up, even when if they weren't talking to you. That's why I try whenever the door is open to share with parents. Your children are learning from you when they hear you on the phone, when they hear you talking to people that come over. They're learning what is and is not acceptable and what is and is not possible,
Mm-hmm.
whether directly or indirectly.
Yeah, that's true. And like you all touched on, if a woman enjoys it a lot, she's looked at a certain way. But it's crazy to me because um I mean, this notion of men, they want their wives to be a certain type of way, right? But say if she's just too free, you have some complaints about it, but if she's not free enough, you going outside the marriage, being with somebody who who's free. So it's like, what? Make up your mind. It's like, make up your mind. But yeah, it's a, go
I
ahead.
would
Yeah.
say that misogyny hurts us all. The idea that women should be a certain way, and if they are not, then they are not an acceptable partner. Like, these ideas hurt us all. The patriarchy must fall.
Yes.
But I think that a lot of times when people think of these ideas, they don't understand where it comes from. And like I said, like, the name of my practice is Sankofa. Like, I'm all about looking at looking at our past and taking what's useful and helpful and bringing it to the future and bringing it to our present so we can
Hmm.
move forward to the future. And that's why I keep kind of bringing that up, because I'm
Hmm.
always in that mindset. But yeah, misogyny
Hmm.
hurts us all, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, a lot of times when people benefit from it, they don't understand that. But like, the root of this idea that you're just talking about, that I want a lady in the streets and a freak in the bed, right?
Hmm.
But the challenge is that often women are not taught that their sexuality is just as holy and sacred and beautiful
Yes.
as is them portraying femininity in a way that feels comfortable
Yes.
to them. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I love
Exactly.
that. Our
Yes.
sexuality is sacred and holy. I love.
Hmm.
You need to put that on a bookmarker. I'll buy it. I love that. I love that.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so just got a few more minutes here. This misconception. Sex has to be super, we kind of touched on this a little bit. Sex has to be super romantic and intimate every time. Every time. Nah, boo. Mm-mm. Like I said before, sometimes sometimes you just want to just go for the jugular, you know what I'm saying? And just bam, bam, because you don't want, yeah, it don't have to be all, like you said, Kalisa, romanticized. I don't need a candlelit dinner first, and you don't have, no. And that's the beauty of it. You can, it's different. It can be different every time. You may not be in the mood for romance. Sometimes you are in the mood to just to be, sensual and all that kind of stuff. But then sometimes you just like, come over here,
Sometimes, to quote the philosopher and the poet that said, "Bust it wide open and I tell her bring it back." Sometimes that's what you want,
Said
and
poet.
that's okay. That's all right. That's what you want sometimes.
Yeah.
Other time, and also just thinking about the idea of like planning for sex and spontaneity, and how like um your sex may change, or what it looks like may change, because you may not be able to have candlelight and bubble baths and chocolate covered
The
strawberry.
massage first, the sensual massage.
You might not be able to do that every time. Now, that does not mean that you settle for a thoughtless partner.
That part.
Okay. But what that means is that you understand that sometimes you want different things, and it's okay to want what you want when you
Mhm.
want it, as long as you have a partner that is, fully consenting and down for whatever.
Yeah.
But just making sure that you understand good sex can look a lot of different ways, and
Yeah.
you get to decide what good sex is.
Mhm. Kalisa?
Yes. I just that's it's just true. It's just true. I mean, sometimes you may wake up and before you go to work, you may just want to roll over and do this or do that, and then be like, okay, I got to jump up and
Yeah. Yeah.
get dressed,
Yep.
and like that's it. Well,
Yep.
I'll have to catch you when we get home. Hopefully, we get home in time. You know what I mean? But you're thinking about that all day. That's called an appetizer.
Come
Right.
on.
That's called an
Yeah.
appetizer. You know what I mean? And so when I used to have a friend, and she used to be like, "Girl, put something on his mind." Her
Mm.
southern accent, "Girl, put something on his mind." Sometimes, like it can be a kiss, it can be other things. It's
Mhm.
just a taste, just enough, just like people would put underwear in they partner's lunchbox or in a briefcase when they taking a trip. Sometimes that's just like something to make you remember it and want it. That's foreplay. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is foreplay. Just like they say your spouse coming home and you've cleaned up or you've done something to lighten their load, that is foreplay.
Yeah.
Intimacy and good
Yeah,
sex.
that's if acts of service is your love language. Because if I came, because that wouldn't do nothing for me. Because if I came home, I see that he did stuff. I'm like, okay, thank you. I mean that for me because that's not my primary love language. That's yeah,
Okay.
that's
Okay, I got you. I got you. But you know what I mean? It's just
yes,
like
I do.
there's so many different things that can help us really have fun, enjoy
Yeah,
it. And it, like she said, it just looks so different. And it depends on the day. It just simply depends on the day. And that's okay. That's the thing. It is
yep. Okay, then this last one I want to touch on. Um, excuse me. This is a misconception. It says if you're both really into each other, sex will automatically be great.
Nope.
Right.
I got
no
a
ma'am. No
I
ma'ams.
have
No,
an
no, ma'am.
I have an entire practice built on sex therapy
Yes.
because it's not always great. And like, yes, sometimes I'll have folks to come in and like the root of it is sexual dissatisfaction, but sometimes it has not sexual dissatisfaction, but relationship dissatisfaction.
Yes.
Sometimes you can absolutely be in love with your partner, but for whatever reason, the sex just isn't quite doing, what it.
Because like you said, you can be in love with somebody or you can really be into them, but they might be a selfish lover and you don't want to do stuff. Girl.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's why it's so important again, and I'ma always talk about communication, but it's so important to not only communicate your wants and desires, but be willing to listen, and also, uh, be open to the possibility that you have room for improvement, which
Yes.
may not be easy to hear.
Yes.
But it's something to consider as well. Like I said, it's one thing to accept that no, um, every sexual experience does not have to end in orgasm. However, you're not supposed to just like sit up with a selfish partner who's not interested in your pleasure. So like that's a
Exactly.
totally different thing. And also, you may have a partner that's interested in your pleasure, but they're just not sure how to do things. I think about how often I may um, counsel a couple who may have abstained before marriage and
Mhm.
they did not have any real sexuality education. So they were just told, well, now the marriage bed is undefiled and do what you do, but ain't nobody taught them nothing.
Yeah, right, right. They like, okay.
Exactly. But they love each other
Yeah.
real hard. and have no idea of how the parts work.
Yeah, right.
So,
Right.
so yeah, just because you have a wonderful connection with someone, that does not mean that the sex is automatically good. And the inverse of that, just because the sex is not good doesn't mean you can't have a good connection with someone. You just have to work at it.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, Kalista, as we wrap up.
Yeah, it's so many layers that come back to the things like your head. Like when they say your brain is the biggest sex organ.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
really is the biggest sex organ. And when she mentioned, like a couple that has abstained, right? Um, the thing is that what is your sex stories? Like what stories did you learn about some people say you shouldn't have oral sex. That's nasty. You know
Oh,
what I
sorry.
mean? So it, but there's so many stories that
Yeah.
we hear from our siblings, from our parents, from different movies. The first time we were exposed to it, it could have been trauma. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So therefore, we're really put off by it. And so then when you're ready to like actually have a fulfilling sexual relationship with someone, you have stories that you have to go through. And a lot of times people don't. They just jump in the bed and think because you look good, I look good, we like each other, we love each other, it's going to be like fireworks and amazing. And like it was in that movie that I saw last night that I paid $10 to see. And that's not necessarily true. It's really hard to jump over stones. You have to go step by step and you have to peel the layers. You have to peel the layers. And sometimes that's tricky.
Yeah.
That's really tricky. The stories that we have in our head, they really can affect a good sex life.
Yeah. That's true. Thank you so much, ladies. This it was a great conversation, and we have to do this again, like
Yeah.
the next season. So sometime like in the fall or something like that, we have to get together and do this again.
I
I
would love
really enjoy these conversations because I really truly believe that, and I said this on the last time you were here, Deandra, that sexual health and awareness is just as important as mental, and it's just as important as physical. No. So this was great. This was really great, and I hope that you all that you're listening, that you have learned some things, and you've learned some things about some of these biggest misconceptions about sex. Go ahead and have um unplanned or planned sex. You know what I'm saying? So put it in your calendar, put it, you guys coordinate, like I said, it don't have to be boring. You don't have to be boring. Just make a time. This is what we're gonna do this day, this time. We're gonna strive for this. Go ahead and do that, and then just do something fun, with that. And then again, it doesn't have to be romantic and intimate every time. Sometimes, like, like we said, like, just, hey, get over here, So, and that's it. And like Lisa said, that's like the appetizer, just a foreplay. So thank you, ladies. Deandra, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at sankofasextherapy. And I'm pretty active on both of those platforms. So, yeah.
All right. And Kalista, you want to give out?
So I have a website. It's Kalista Marie. So KALLISTA Marie MARIE.com. And there is a link to my Pure Romance website on there. And for anybody who's listening who likes read alouds, I know we were talking about other things, but you can also go to ourcommunityreads.com. So OUR community reads READS.com and find out all about me there too.
All right. Thank you, ladies, again for sharing your expertise and your insights and your stories. I really appreciate you, ladies. And you guys, share, like, comment on this subject here, this episode. And ladies, don't click out. But for everybody else, I will see you next week with a brand new episode. And again, we are wrapping up season 3 this month because your girl I gotta write my screenplay. Okay, I gotta write the screenplay, so give myself a deadline. So go ahead and do that. And thank you so much, y'all, for rocking with me. And I will see you all next week. All right, bye.
Let's go. Let's go. It's time to turn up your radio. Turn up the radio. Just so you know, you're kicking it with K. That's all I'm gonna say. You're here now.